Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you for joining me on another episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and we have an incredible show for you today. We're going to introduce you to some new guests, some interesting people. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to laugh a lot. But as I always say, there's someone in your network, someone in your neighborhood. There's someone who needs this information. Maybe they're a new entrepreneur. They're just starting out, but they won't have this information unless you go ahead and share the show with them. And as I always say, friends don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. So while you're going ahead and waking up your neighbors and letting them know the show is on, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our very first guest, Cheryl Taragin. She is a mother and first-time author of a picture book for young readers. That's ridiculous, said Nicholas. She is passionate about writing and storytelling. Good morning, Cheryl. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifah, and thank you so much for having me on your program this morning. I'm so excited to be here with the other guests, and we talked a little bit ahead of time and found out this would be a musical program too, so I'm excited about that. I am passionate about writing. This is my first book for children. It's called That's Ridiculous, said Nicholas. And it's a story about a little daredevil who walks to the beat of his own drum. It has some hidden messages in it for parents and children alike. But basically, it's a nice little story about children who are a little difficult to handle. I think the children who read it will like it. It's for 6 to 8-year-olds. Toddlers will enjoy it at bedtime. It's a real story with dialogue, but it's amusing and funny too. And the kids who have read it have had really good feedback about it. It recently was listed under the Maryland website under the author section for Maryland authors. And I'm very excited about that because it's the Maryland state recognizing that the book is nice and well illustrated and good for children to read. And also, I just want to mention to anybody who will buy the book from now until the end of the year, a portion of the proceeds are going to be donated to the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. So if you have questions about the book or would like to get in touch with me, I'm here on the show.
Absolutely. Now, we did say it's going to be a musical show, but I haven't got the buy-in from everyone. So we're going to see. We're going to talk to some of our guests and see if they're willing to have a musical show. Our next guest is Mr. Dave Combs. Dave is a songwriter, composer, entrepreneur, and author with 14 music albums and a new book, Touched by the Music. Good morning, Dave. How are you? Okay, let's get Dave going.
I'm Dave Combs. I'm a songwriter, a composer, a photographer. I love to take pictures. And I also have 14 albums of music that I've written and produced over the years. I've produced 11 piano music books. For those of you that play the piano, you can actually play the music that is recorded on my albums. And during the last year, with like most of us, when we were at home and basically couldn't go out to eat, couldn't go anywhere, I spent the last year writing down all these stories that I've experienced over the last 40 years and wrote a book called Touched by the Music. It's basically started with a song that I wrote 40 years ago called Rachel's Song. Many of you may have heard it on the radio. It's been played all over the world millions of times, and it's an instrumental song. And since then, I've written over 120 songs, and the journey from one song to 120 or so songs, 14 albums, and from one little gift shop selling my music many years ago to over 1,000 gift shops selling my music all over the country is quite a journey. And as you imagine, with any venture, whether it's music, writing, or any creative activity, it's not a straight line from the beginning to the end. There are lots of zigs and zags along the way, and it's those different stops and starts and successes and failures and roadblocks, but finding ways to get around them are the stories that are written up in my book. And it's almost a primer on entrepreneurship, of how you start a business and grow it into a successful enterprise. And so it has music in it. It has inspiration from a personal standpoint, even from a spiritual standpoint. And it has a lot of entrepreneurship principles that are applied throughout the book. So I would encourage people to go on Amazon or wherever books are sold and check out my book, Touched by the Music. It's been an Amazon bestseller, and it has done really well, continues to do well. And I've had a lot of friends and relatives that have basically given my book as Christmas presents this year. So I'm really pleased with that. And you can always reach me and my book at combsmusic.com, combsmusic.com. And my email is just simply dave@combsmusic.com, and I read them all and answer them all. So
you're giving your takeaway, you're giving your contact information. At the end of the show, people can find out how people can find you, contact you. You can't give it all away at the top of the show. We got to get in a conversation, allow the people to follow with you, and then they're going to be like, you know what, I have to give this book. But we are going to come back to you. I want to go ahead and introduce Mr. Thomas. Thomas he's a philosopher with a camera, pen, and paper, a graduate of philosophy from the University of Texas at Arlington. Thomas has used his experiences to help others in advocacy for a better world. A working artist since 1998, his visual works have sold on 3 continents, and his 2 books, Untitled and Texas, are currently available in over 15 countries. Good morning, Thomas. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, all. How are y'all doing today? So I know I have 2 minutes to do a quick elevator pitch. I'm just kidding. It's not an elevator pitch, but I have been a working artist for about 2 decades. I'm also a community activist focused primarily within the LGBTQ community and also the African American community. I guest lecture. I also run a speaking series called Humanity 101, along with my partner business partner Gage, that's focused on educating and informing people about current events, primarily focused towards the LGBTQ community. I have been an advocate for public art and community art for over 2 decades too as well. I like working with the youth in terms of trying to educate and inform them about options as a working artist or an independent artist. And currently right now, my books are available at Barnes & Noble and also on Amazon Books. And I'm excited to be here today.
We are excited to have you. Definitely. I'm going to come back to you. I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, the lovely Miss Kim Becker. Kim is a motivational and inspirational speaker and an award-winning author of 2 books about beauty, cancer, and the amazing scope of the human spirit. Good morning, Kim. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
So I am the co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Hello Gorgeous, and we restore the beauty that cancer steals. We found through working, I was a hairdresser for 30 years, and many times I found out that I was the first person to find out that one of my salon guests was diagnosed with cancer, many times even before her family knew that she was diagnosed with cancer. And it seems through that time that women were more concerned about the loss of their hair and the change of their appearance than they were the loss of their life. So 16 years ago, I started this journey. It's a calling from God. I would have never thought to do this at all. And that's what I get to spend. I have the best job in the whole world, but I get to spend my days making sure that women with cancer have the knowledge and the education that they need to make sure that they can counteract the effects of their cancer treatment so that they can live as normal of a life as possible. I say many times that it's the doctor's job to treat her cancer. Excuse me, just one second. It's the doctor's job to treat her cancer. It's my job to make sure that she looks really good while she's going through it. that you don't know what you don't know. Excuse me. And so there's so many women that want to make sure that they can just look as normal as possible. So we have several ways that we do that. We do them through in-person makeovers. COVID actually affected us, but it affected us positively, that we're able to do virtual makeovers now so that women with cancer, thank you, so that women with cancer can learn how to draw their eyebrows out, counteract the effects of the steroids, but do it in the comfort of their own home. We also realized that this wasn't anything that we were ever taught in beauty school. So I created a program to make sure that any stylist that's faced with what I was faced with when women would come in and tell their stylist that they had cancer, that they know where to guide them and that they know how to keep them safe throughout that process. What I say is that I go in and teach stylists not how to do a pedicure and a manicure, but how to do a pedicure and a manicure on a woman battling cancer. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share the work that we do. And so thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for doing the work that you do. We are going to come back to you. I just want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, the incredible Miss Laura Lee, director with her husband Paul of, she's going to have to pronounce this institute.
Cuyamungue Institute.
There you go. An anthropologically-based research organization on ancient cultures worldwide, select artifacts, and the revival of an experiential, psychological, physiological ritual for visioning with profound benefits. Visioneering. That's a lot of words, Laura. Good morning.
I had to pack them all in. Yeah, it's great to be here. We too are storytellers. I'm not an anthropologist. I come from a media background where story is key and always has been. And the story that my husband Paul and I are focused on is this new emergent paradigm. We're seeing a clash of worldviews, from science to spirit, and not even getting into politics. But we're really looking at this long history of indigenous wisdom meeting with modern technologies, modern paradigms. And we're saying, we're headed for a brick wall. And how do we get back to balance? How do we get back to spirit? How do we get back to looking at everything as sacred? And this new emerging paradigm is saying that we're more than what meets the eye. And one way, one avenue to really embrace this, to embody the eco-spirituality, to experience this directly, is to look within our own inner technology that's built into our own physiology. And there is a hidden code, a hidden doorway that ritual can activate. Yes, plant medicine and botanicals and drugs can do this, but we can also do it with just a ritual, with the body reading the cues of a ritual to embrace the directions, to embrace the universe, and enter into the state. It's been tested in the laboratory. Some certain physiological shifts that support this expanded state of awareness. It's been described as a waking dream. It's similar to a very intense daydream, but there is lessons and benefits and a shift going in to say the temple of our intellect can be set aside. We can enter into this greater bandwidth of experience, much as our early ancestors had enjoyed and cultivated, and it has much to teach us about our universe and our place in it. I think that the benefit of the anthropologist who founded the Cuyamungue Institute is that she looked at all the world's traditions for calling forth the spirits, however you want to define it. There's no belief system, no dogma. And by looking at it all and taking the essential steps and saying, this is how the physiology reads the cues to make this natural, normal, and easy shift. If we've all had a spontaneous mystical experience, we know how accessible this can be. It just needs a few prompts and a safe container. Then it gives us Westerners a chance to legitimately reclaim our own indigenous ancestors into the world's family and say that we're not stepping on any cultural toes. So I think this is one of the benefits. She did for the world's rituals what Joseph Campbell did for the world's mythologies. And like the hero journey, she gave us a set of here are the essential steps to lead us back to and reclaim this lost heritage that we so dearly need right now.
Interesting. I want to ask Thomas his thoughts when you're listening to what Laura had to say. What, as an activist, what were your thoughts?
I feel like what she's doing is a lot of deep work. You know, she's really participating in this current existence and also interacting with people on a deeper, more meaningful level than I think, you know, a lot of people are attempting to do today in a lot of their ventures. And that's not saying that to be insulting to other people. It's just saying that it seems that she's more intentional with her pursuits than what you would consider a lot of people in regards to what their purpose is and what they're wanting to, you know, in many regards. Like I said, there's deeper meaning behind it.
Definitely. I want to go over to Kim because there's a lot of deep intentional work that you do as well, correct?
Yes. And it's, you know, what I found is through the years that what I have done, it's not just the physical things, the physical changes that these women experience through cancer. There's some emotional changes that that they experience as well. And so to be able to tell them, empower them, right? It's a lot of positive self-talk. It's, you know, changing the question instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Asking, what can I learn from this? And so I think that there's so many different things. There's a lot of parallels with that, so that you're helping a woman with cancer, not only from the outside, but from the inside as well.
A sense of regaining a balance and empowerment and being in a stance in which to go forth and do your best work and be your best self. That's beautiful work that you're doing, Kim.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And empowering children, Cheryl, and musicians and artists. I think all of this is part of the piece, and that you've pulled together a group here, Sharifah, of saying, let's go with our optimal opportunities. Let's make the most of every moment here on life. Let's bring down the joy of the universe and sing with it in whatever note that we have. Let's be part of the symphony. So I would say they're all doing beautiful work.
Yes,
Cheryl.
and also empowering children. That's part of the hidden message in the book, is to empower them to question and ask and see if something resonates with them. If they don't find it to be truthful, as this character doesn't in the book, he says that's ridiculous and he moves on. And I think that that's important. We should empower children to question. They shouldn't necessarily be full of themselves. They should always be humble. But I think it's important to let children know that their opinion counts also.
That they have a voice and they can discern. Yeah.
Yes. And I love the assembled people in this group.
Yeah.
It is so nice to see people are really reaching out to one another. And especially Thomas's work, I'm so intrigued by the work that he's doing, because it's really important now to reach each person on an individual level. And the way that the Institute is reaching out to people, the music, and also the important work that's being done by Kim, it's so very special, really. And I'm honored to be in this group.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dave, we talked a little bit about deep work. Would you consider your work deep?
Well, I was very intrigued because, as you know, there's more than one way to communicate between people and into yourself. And my music is basically instrumental, so there are no words to have a language barrier. I guess music is kind of an international language. But what I have found from the over 50,000 letters and notes that I've received over the years from people about my music is how the music has reached into their inner soul, their inner being, and helped them in whatever ways they appeared to need help at the time. It's almost a therapy, but it's a case where the music has communicated with that person, even though they didn't know me, I don't know them, they don't know the background of my music, but somehow or other, this music has provided them either healing or peace or reduced stress, all these kind of beneficial benefits. and it's similar to the kind of therapies and the rituals that you were talking about a while ago. There are ways to basically reach inside of a person and touch parts of their heart and soul and being that words or other physical activities cannot do, whether it's sounds or music, or, I see in your background there, you have a lot of drums and other instruments, Laura, that I guess will promote this communication between the person and how their body and soul is feeling at the time. And my music has had that similar kind of an effect on people. And it's amazing that something as simple as a tone or a simple tune can have on a person, and it strikes them. I've had people write to me and say they heard my music in a gift shop someplace, and they just froze in their tracks. Tears come down their cheeks. They don't know why. And it just somehow touched and reached them to the point where it was an extreme emotional experience for them. And those kind of experiences and anecdotal evidence of the effect of music is really the reason I wrote my book. Is those stories prompted me to say, I've got to tell more people about this. And it's my mission to spread this useful and helpful music around the world.
Absolutely. Let's get the message out there. So, Laura, when you hear Dave say that and he talk about your spreading the message, what are your thoughts? What do you hear?
The language of spirit, much of that is the soundscape, is the music. And there are monotone, rapid beats that we use as our sonic driving that are part of that physiological cue to make that shift. But I think that the language of spirit, as I call it, all the techniques that this larger universe uses to impact us, to communicate with us, to receive and transmit an exchange of energy, sound and music and rhythm and song and chants are so much a key part of it, as is a gestural language, as is all beyond words. This underlies the written and the spoken word. It's a deeper language, and yes, it's a universal language. And there's been much study on that. There's even a film that Alzheimer's patients are shown when they are played the music of their youth, their memories come back. So it is so deeply embedded in us. And as is art. So our ritual is all based on art. We use and stand and sit in the postures that are illustrated in a lot of ancient artwork, select ancient pieces, simple sitting postures like this, like this, like this, lots of different postures. And so we decode art as ritual instructions. So I think our early ancestors understood very early on how powerful these various elements are to push us in a certain direction for this physiological response, for opening up, for enjoying music. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of the earliest musical instruments are bird bones as flutes, as drums and rattles. Early on, you find those in the archaeological record.
Okay. I just wanted to go over, and because you're an artist, Thomas.
Yes. So, everyone that I've heard so far sharing, I think it's really cool that even though a lot of us are all talented, we're all paying it forward. We're all interacting with, the human community, whether it's educating children, whether it's working with cancer patients, whether it's using music to connect with people on a deeper level. I think it is amazing that all these gifts, whether people look at it as an ordained gift from the universe or whether it was something that was taught to you, you're using it to pay it forward and engaging in the world. And my biggest quote is always to educate, inspire, and help people grow. And sometimes that's also helping yourself grow. So I'm very fascinated and interested in what everyone's doing in terms of their different focuses and their areas, because again, a lot of it seems to be at the core that you're wanting to pay it forward.
Mm-hmm. Do you use your art to pay it forward?
Yes. So my work is minimalism expressionism. In terms of my canvas work, it is one of those things that I'm heavily inspired by Keith Haring and Basquiat. because I am a member of the LGBTQ community, and also I am a Black male, and the things that have been going on over the past few years, my work was more so heavily involved before, but it definitely was kicked into overdrive last year with everything that was going on between both communities. I guess you could say the work was overtime, because there's just so much attention going on. So that's been one of those things of using the platform of the art to pay it forward or bring light to certain things. At the center of a lot of big movements within society, art has played a big role throughout the history of our species. So whenever we're seeing something, whether it be radical or something that's revolutionary or something that's different, the art reflects the times. Like Nina Simone says, as artists, it is our job to reflect the times. And that's what I've been doing with my writing. That's what I've been doing with my filmmaking. And that's what I've been doing with my visual art as well.
Art is also a process for entering into those larger states of mind. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi with the flow state, where you're occupied with a particular task that is creative and yet requires intense focus. You get into a flow state, the hallmark being an hour goes by and it feels like 5 minutes. And they have tested some artists, then find that they're in beta, which is our normal waking state, plus theta, which is that mystical state akin to the deep dream. And so it's very easy to enter into these altered states through art. It is one of the passageways. And that beta plus beta is a hallmark of our technique, with a few other physiological markers that are endogenous, recreated by the body, within the body. But there's so much, so many avenues. We say that mystical states are available to all of us and are there to be enjoyed and honored and bring so many gifts. But art is one of those avenues, indeed.
Cheryl, I see you over there shaking your head in agreement.
I am in agreement. I was thinking about how I like to create and write. And when I get into the zone, it's true.
Yeah.
Hours can go by and I don't even realize it because I'm creating, I'm in that moment. And it's so interesting for artists when you do get into a groove that time doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. And I find that fascinating in some respects because it allows you to reach into the depths of yourself, of your inner self, and take everything that you have in your mind, your experiences, everything that you've heard or listened to, conversations. And that's how I weave a story together. I take little snippets and I write them down, or sometimes I'll just wake up in the morning and I feel that I'm in the groove and I'll just start writing. I am working on another book right now. So when I say that I'm writing, it's not for this book, it's for my next book. And it is true. There is a process, and when you reach it, there's nothing like it. There really is not. You're doing what you're passionate about, and you're really getting some meaning out of it.
The best high, the best natural high. Yeah.
I have a question for everyone. It seems as though everyone here has been in their field for quite a bit of time. Have you noticed an influence with social media or with the advancement of the internet impacting your various fields? Because I know whether it be in makeup and beauty, whether it be in music, whether it be in writing, whether it even be in spiritual exploration, it seems as though that all of the fields that we're currently in, there has been an uptick through the internet of people, especially with this younger generation of people wanting to either gain knowledge there or be a part of it. And have you seen, do you feel like with social media or the internet, has it made it easier for you? Have you been able to adapt to it? Have you grown with that process? Feel free to jump in at any time, anyone.
I'll say that with the pandemic, immediately we started here in this room to go to Zoom and to have 2-hour sessions where we lead people through the ritual, through the experience, which is the ecstatic trance ritual body posture technique, as founded by the anthropologist who founded this institute. And that really pulled from the dustbin of history, brush it off. It's so pertinent for today, because within the space of 2 hours in a group or 1 hour on your own, you can have these beautiful experiences and then return to this ordinary reality. When we do the sharing and go around the room, it's beautiful to behold, because we've done so many of them 3 times a week over the last almost 2 years. We have added to our database. We're a research organization, so we've added to our database. These are free, they're open to anyone. And so Zoom has been a boon to us. We're now starting a community host program. We have people in 13 countries now learning to do this practice for their own communities, and over 30 people that we're just starting. So although the Institute has been in existence for 50 years, this is a huge growth spurt for it. So yeah, the internet has been key for us to build this international community, to build these connections.
Well, the music business has certainly been impacted by technology. Thomas, when I first started, we were in cassette tapes. Some of you will remember cassette tapes.
Oh yeah.
Young people today don't even know what they are. But when they went from cassette tapes to CDs to uploads or downloads. Remember when the Napster started giving away our intellectual property for free? Well, all of a sudden our music's value went from paying $15 for an album to where these teenagers, they expected to get it for free. Hard to make a living selling things for free. But when we evolved finally into the streaming and the internet and the uploading and downloading of music and that enterprise, the music industry has shifted now to a digital form. And fortunately, I've been able to go into that as well. So all my music is, I've hardly even sell any more CDs, but most of the music is over streaming or downloads of digital form from, Apple, iTunes or Amazon or Spotify, iHeartRadio, every streaming media that you can think of. And so, yes, the technology has certainly impacted, and all the musicians that I know of have had to rethink their channels of distribution and their way of making a living at the music. It's become actually a lot more competitive, because anybody with a computer can make a recording now at home and actually produce an album virtually as good as we used to do with these multi-million-dollar studios. So it's the technology has really changed our lives big time.
It has democratized the creative output, same with books and all the other creative pursuits, and also the fungible tokens for art.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask a question about the creativity. We're talking about for one person, for yourself, how do you get into the mood or the zone of creativity? In the musician world, you have it not just as an individual, you have a collaboration of creativity, where you have a group of musicians, a songwriter that pairs up with a lyricist and so forth, or a group of musicians in a studio. And there is where some of the magic really occurs to me, when you see very talented musicians, 3 or 4 or 5 of them in a room, and they just feed off of each other, and they're in that musical creativity zone that you just have to almost be there to believe what you're hearing. But that group creativity is also a real thing.
Yes, absolutely. Let me get to Kim. I want to hear Kim's response to Thomas's question. Then I'll get a response to your question.
So, the social media, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. It's done a great job of making sure that, we can put our mission out there. And again, if women don't know we exist, I can't help them. Because of COVID and, salons were shut down. So our affiliate program, the in-person makeovers that we were doing, we were able to shift. And we too used Zoom to make sure that we could still do the virtual makeovers. However, what I see, because cancer affects a woman's appearance, what we have found personally and professionally is that, people will post their Kodak moments on social media. And then what happens is your normal everyday life that you're living, you are comparing, I feel, to a lot of the Kodak moments. And so it's difficult when you're dealing with women with cancer that obviously their appearance has changed so much. And then they go on social media and they, see these people that are living these wonderful lives, and yet their life has been affected negatively because of where they're at in the moment. But it just, there's some women, what we hear, it just doesn't bring them the joy that they'd like to see. So in our world, what we found is there are a lot of people that during that time, they just get off of social media, that they don't want any. It was really interesting. We were working with like keywords through Google Ads. And so I had an opportunity to speak virtually to a support group that was based out of California. And what I wanted to know was, when you got on Google, what was it that you searched after your cancer diagnosis? Was it that you searched your symptoms? Did you search, how to counteract the side effects? Did you search the disease? And there were many of these women that said they didn't search anything at all. They just completely got off of it because they didn't want to know what was out there. And that's what they had said too, that they had received that advice from people that just said, stay away from Google, stay away from social media, because everybody's journey is different. And sometimes it can compound what you're feeling to make you feel worse as opposed to feel better. So it really, for me, it really has been a love-hate relationship. It somehow, sometimes allows us to further the message and the mission, but then there are times where there can be a little bit of a negative aspect to it as well.
Absolutely. I definitely understand what you're saying. Wonderful response, Kim. Thank you. I want to go over to Cheryl to get the response to Thomas's question about social media.
I also have a love-hate relationship with social media. I came onto the internet kicking and screaming in the 1990s. I was coming from another career, and honestly, I did not want to make the transition. I was forced to, but I'm glad that I did, because in a way, social media has really helped me connect with people. We don't always have the time that we need to fully connect with people, to get to know them, to get to talk to them, to find out information from them. And maybe you only want 5 minutes of their time, or even just a minute. And social media has really helped with that. I found that I've been able to connect with other authors, which is so important. I've been able to connect with publishers, with literary agents. This is very important for somebody who's just starting off writing books. So for me, social media has been a godsend. And I would imagine, having gone through COVID, it's been a godsend for people just to have the connection to other people, because I don't know about other people, but I live alone. And when there was lockdowns during the COVID episode, I mean, that was really difficult for me. So having social media, having an ability to just see people, talk to them, it was a godsend.
I understand completely. Thomas, we got the response to your question. What are your thoughts?
Everyone has their different experiences, and that's what that question was based off of, especially in 2021 with technology and the adaptation of technology, and with a lot of us sort of beginning a lot of our professional careers before this big tech boom, it's what you'd consider adaptation and evolving into your specialized field, and what that experience has been for people. And that's what is also a cool thing, is the continued growth. I'm always excited about evolution and growth and continuation of your process.
Can I speak a little bit about ecstatic trance and what it is defined as and how accessible it is to everyone? Because it's an academic term. It refers to that state of touching something larger than yourself. It is a term used by the sages of the ages, that state of being one with the all. And you talked about that state of earlier, the center is everywhere, the boundaries are nowhere, that sense of just expansion and connection, that is available to everyone. And that's one of the key messages, whatever your technique is, to get there. And in our society, we're so outwardly focused that it has to be about how we look to one another. But we've forgotten that deep connection of the universe wanting to embrace us and wanting to connect on that heart level. And that, I think, is what is missing. Our founder, the anthropologist Dr. Felicitas Goodman, would say we are all ecstasy deprived. I know ecstasy is a term now used for a street drug, but really that term means that we are fully connected in that center of joy. Therapists use this to heal addictions, to say that hole within you, if you can fill that up naturally from within, from a spiritual source, then you're less prone to deal with that. This work is used in hospice to say those who are dying and the family, the loved ones, can understand that cycles of the universe, the embrace of the universe, the sense of inner joy bubbling up. So I would say also that if you are facing those big challenges in life, then seek that source within, that centeredness, that creativity, whether it's creativity and you have artist block to unleash the creative force, or to fill up that sense of I belong, I matter, I am here, I am seen, I am embraced, I am loved.
Absolutely. I wanted a specific response to Dave's question, Laura. Dave's question was in regards to the group and the group connection in creating creating the creative process.
We find in our Zoom groups and we find in our in-person groups that there can be this egregore that develops, this sense of deep bonding and connection. You bring a group of strangers together and you're speaking one language, whether it's music and you're riffing off one another, poetry, art, whatever, dance, whatever you're doing, there's that expansion and bonding. And we find this in our ecstatic trance states as well. That and then we find also, I think we could call it quantum entanglement. We could call it Einstein's spooky effect at a distance, where people can be scattered around the globe, and yet we find similar themes come up within the sharing of their individual inward deep dives. And we don't know how it works. We just know that there's this sense of bonding. I think that there's more power. There's more layers to the universe and the energy upon which we congregate and we share than we know. There's more to us, there's more to the universe than we generally recognize.
Dave, what are your thoughts on what Laura had to say to your question?
Well, I obviously, I think she is a much more studied into not science, but the study of spiritual things, spiritual meaning broader than just religion, that there are different aspects to creativity and healing and feelings and so forth that are beyond what we understand. And I think all of us have probably at times experienced things that you go, wow, where did that come from? You know, it's just
Exactly.
an out of body experience almost that you were, in my case, I wrote a song called Rachel's Song, and it, I literally just sat down and played it. It was like this song came to me and was through my fingers onto the piano, and I played it for the first time, but it was as if that song had existed for 1,000,000 years. And it was ended up being called Rachel's Song, and that song has touched many, many lives. But it was, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I wrote that song because I really just sat down at the piano and played it. It was that kind of an experience that I think, whether you're writing a book, whether you're writing a poem or lyrics to a song or whatever you're creating, sometimes those can just come to you and you don't even know where they came from, but you know that it's from some other dimension that you don't understand.
We become the hollow bone, and then the muse speaks through us, or the life force of the universe speaks through us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thomas, do you have that experience?
Yeah, so I will say that everyone's creative process is different. What I've come to learn over, the past few decades of being a working artist, I will say my process for a lot of it became at some point kind of not robotic, but kind of robotic. And then I had an incident that happened to me back in April, that I died. And then I came back. And then I've sort of been taking a sabbatical
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, wait, hold on. You died?
Yes, I
You
died
just
in April.
said that all calmly, like this happens to you every day. So you died, like on the operating table or something?
No, so there was, not going too much into detail, but I wasn't feeling well. And literally at that point, I had made the decision to go to the ER. And about being in the ER for about 15 minutes, I coded. So if I would have waited like another 30 minutes, because my house is about 10 minutes away from the hospital, I would have died at home. So it's about timing. It was about, really making a decision for myself, but then also realizing, that comeback. So over the past few months, it's just been, for me anyway, taking sort of a sabbatical from the full creative process and trying to look at it from a standpoint of being more intentional with this new chapter, this new work that I'm trying to do. So not saying that I wasn't intentional before, but really trying to be very intentional with my moves and what I say and how I go into my process. So again, like I said, everybody engages or deals with trauma differently. But I will say for myself, it was one of those things that where I was like, okay, I need to take a pause for a moment and really sort out, when I do decide to fully immerse myself back in the creativity, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? And if I'm going to be really intentional and believe what I am saying when I put it out there.
Wow, dying will definitely do that to you. It changed your whole perspective on life. Now, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we are going to start with you, Kim.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here and to share this platform with all your wonderful guests. That's the first thing I want to say. But second of all, anyone that is diagnosed with cancer or has a loved one that's diagnosed with cancer, medical technology and research has come so far that I'm so grateful that the cancer diagnosis is no longer a death sentence. And so the survival rate is much greater now than it ever has been before. And as I stated earlier, it's the doctor's job to treat your cancer. I want to make sure you look really good while you're going through it. So our website is hellogorgeous.org. We've got a bunch of free resources on there. I too am an author of 2 books. One is a book about women that we've helped through the process. You learn about their cancer diagnosis, what it meant for them to have a makeover, and where are they now section. The second book is called I Promise to Put My Lipstick On When I Get There. And it's a red carpet guide to feeling gorgeous through your cancer treatment. It's basically a what to expect when you're expecting, but anybody that's going through cancer treatment. So both of those can be found on our website. We also have a freebie. If you go to the website, hellogorgeous.org/freebie, it's a video that I did about the 12 things that you need to know after your cancer diagnosis before you start treatment. Different things as we've talked to women over the last 15 years that we've been able to do makeovers. I like to ask a question that is, what is it that you know now that you wished you would have known at the beginning of your cancer journey? And so we were able to take those top 12 things and put those in a video. So anybody can go on there and download that video. But that's it. Just check out our website at hellogorgeous.org. And thank you so much for having me as part of this panel today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Definitely appreciate you. Want to go over to Cheryl. Cheryl, what would you like to give the people?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on the program. I've really enjoyed this time and being able to share thoughts with the other people who are on the panel today. I'd like people to buy my book, That's Ridiculous, Said Nicholas. It's a very cute book for early readers. Toddlers will love it at bedtime. I have a little page on Facebook, That's Ridiculous, Said Nicholas. It's facebook.com/Ridicnick, because I thought, okay, that could rhyme, RIDICNIC. So please come to the page, like the page, It will have updates about the book, things that are happening, promotions, maybe a little bit off of the seller price. You can get the book everywhere. It's available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart even. Just go online, do a search for That's Ridiculous, Said Nicholas. Books make a great stocking stuffer and a present this time of year. So please don't forget your little ones who might be interested in reading or hearing a good tale at bedtime. And also, people can reach out to me through my email. I have free coloring pages that I give out. And please feel free to email me if you'd like a coloring page. It's a page from the book that your children can color. My email address is iproofwell, proof like 45 proof liquor, iproofwell@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to send you one of the pages. And hopefully that will encourage people to go and look for the book and maybe buy a copy.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Cheryl. We're going to go over to Mr. Thomas.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for having me today. Again, you can purchase my book, Untitled, at barnesandnoble.com. Also, you can get my second book, which is titled Texas, at Amazon Books, as well as my first book. You can search for me by my name. I'm on Google. You can go to my website. I'm on Instagram. Also check out my films on my IMDb profile too as well. You can check out my canvas work on my website, which is my name too, which is right there. It should be at the side of the box somewhere.
It's right there. We see it. I see it.
There we go. So feel free to check all those out, and you can keep up with me as I continue to update people on the work that I have coming up in 2022 and all my community initiative projects that I'll be participating in with others in collaborations.
I love it. Thank you, Thomas. Mr. Dave, what do you have for the people?
Well, first of all, thank you, Sharifah, for having all of us on this program. I've certainly enjoyed our conversation today. It's been very inspirational and stimulating is a good word too. But I want to also encourage people that are watching the program to check out my book, Touched by the Music. This time of year is gift giving time, and I would encourage you to consider giving my book to anybody that you know that loves to read and especially loves to read inspirational stories. It's just the book is full of those. And I also want to make a special offer to the listeners that if you would like to have your book autographed, or even your books that you're giving away autographed and personalized, the way you can do that without even shipping the books to me and back, send me an email, dave@combsmusic.com, and tell me the names of the people that you would like it personalized to. And I have pre-printed these special, what I call autograph plates. It's a piece of paper that you can, with adhesive on the back, I will personalize it to whoever with a message, sign it and date it, and put those plates in an envelope and mail them to you. And then you can stick them on the inside of the cover of the book. And then you will be able to give away an autographed and personalized book without having to send the expense of shipping it back and forth to me at about $6 each way. So I will make that offer as well. And I'd also encourage people to go to check out my music. If you like soothing, relaxing music, or finding a stressful situation where you need to just chill out, go check me out on, you can just search for Rachel's Song or Dave Combs Music, or the artist that I use is Gary Prim. He's done all my recordings with me. And so just search for Gary Prim Music and you'll find me on Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, and so forth. So please check out my music and my book for possible gifts for Christmas or for your own pleasure or enjoyment. And I would love to hear from you as well. I answer every email I get. So thank you for listening today, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Dave. We definitely appreciate you. Miss Laura, what do you want to leave the people with your takeaway?
Well, I want to thank you, Sharifah, for pulling together this and guiding this wonderful forum with these people who are all into their community building avenues and listening to the muse in a voicing the muse, these inspired whispers from the universe in whatever realm that they're working in. And I would say that the life, death, and the rebirth happens to us in cycles large and small, whether you're dying and coming back, or some part of us is dying and no longer needed, or something is stripped away from us. What's left is our true calling, and that resilience to, like the phoenix, rise again and carry on with a new mission is such a beautiful part of our life process, and to be embraced in however we do it. It calls forth our strength. I may speak in a mythopoetic language because that is the best language to address what I do, my husband and I do. But I will say that science, the leading edge of science, is confirming in so many aspects the ancient wisdom and the ancient worldview. And that the Buckminster Fuller said 99% of the electromagnetic spectrum is where we are headed, is where the magic happens, is where the future lies. And our technology is expanding that a little bit. We're about to see the Webb telescope launch that will peer into the universe even further than the Hubble telescope did. We have the instruments to peer deeper into the atom than ever before. We have such limited bandwidth, but there's so much more to this gorgeous, majestic universe than we know. And we have the inner technology to engage it, to dialogue with it.
I definitely agree.
To embrace it, to drink it, to emote it. Yeah. And
where can people find you, Laura?
Oh, thank you. Cuyamungue Institute. You see how it's spelled. It's really a place name. And what we, CuyamungueInstitute.com, we offer free experiential sessions as well as educational sessions, all free and open. Just requires going to the website, finding the events. I think 3 times a week we have events. And I would say my book is coming. My book is about to be in the publishing process, but this is the book of our founder, Where the Spirits Ride the Wind. It tells the origin story and a little bit of the foundational research of this, just one of many avenues. And what I want to say about today, these are challenging days to live in, but rife with opportunity, because we have a marketplace of modalities to get in touch with our deeper self and to give out what we're giving in so many ways. And your show is one of them, Sharif. Thank you for this forum and for everyone and what they're doing. It's just a celebration and a symphony of life and all of its play and display of beauty.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. I definitely appreciate you. I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. I appreciate you watching the show. I appreciate you sharing the show. But the most important thing to me is the love, Cheryl, definitely. But that you, as the viewer, support our guests. Visit their websites, pick up a copy of their books, follow them on social media, reach out to them, send them a message. And when you do, please let them know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show, please visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.